All right, everyone. Welcome to our first SIG release meeting for 2023. I wish you all a happy new year and would like to remind you that this meeting adheres to the CNCF Code of Conduct, which basically boils down to be excellent to each other. Marco added the SIG release meeting agenda in the chat, and I also shared it here with you in the screen. So please add yourself to the list of attendees. And we also require one note taker for today. Do we have anyone on the call who would like to take notes? Okay, Ray, thanks. Thanks for that. Okay, the first topic on the list of recurring topics is to welcome any new attendees or members for SIG release. So if you want to say hi or wish us a happy new year, then feel free to mention that now. All right. So then let's move over to our sub-project updates. Marco, do you want to provide us an update on release engineering?
Yeah, sure. I'll have some notes in the agenda, but so let's get started. For OBS, sadly, we don't have major updates as of now. I still need to sit down and come up with a cap update, and I plan to do it next week since I got busy with work and there were holidays and stuff like that, so I didn't have time before. But I hope that sometimes next week I will be able to provide the PR, and then we can continue our discussion there. Besides that, we had Go updates, and we have a PR for updating master to Go 1.20. Thanks to Carlos for this. We also did the update of Go on release branches for 1.24 and 1.23 to Go 1.19. This is something that I'd like to discuss a little bit more in depth because I think this is important, and I added an agenda point for this in the open discussion so that we can go through this. Besides that, I'd like to do an update and reminder for January patch releases for 1.26, 1.25, 1.24, and 1.23. Those patch releases are scheduled for January 18, which is the next week, and with that being, we have the cherry pick deadline this Friday on January 13th. One more thing is to mention is that 1.23 is officially in the maintenance mode, but I think we should cut at least one more patch release to ship the Go update that we did recently. Besides that, yeah, I think this covers most of the stuff. So yeah, there was not a lot of activity because of holidays. So yeah. If anyone has to add anything, or otherwise, yeah, to the release team, I guess.
Yeah, no, I have a question regarding the enhancements. So I don't see many more enhancements we have when I look into our roadmap for 1.27. So my question would be, so we want to update the enhancement and then we can probably also directly start working on it, right?
Do you mean about the packages stuff or?
Yeah, so what would be the main goal for the enhancements update? It would probably state that we want to choose OBS and build something we can ship in parallel to our current infrastructure, and we also would like to achieve that goal for 1.27, right?
Yeah, exactly. The cap that we have right now is talking about, in general, what are we expecting from the new infrastructure? How is it going to work? What is the plan is that I would like to expand it with the solution, the concrete solution that we chose. This is OBS, how it exactly works, what are the positive and negative sides, and how it should all look like in terms of automation, like who is going to evoke the process, how is it going to look like, how our package is going to look, and stuff like that. So this is the plan that I have as of now. Yeah.
Cool, sounds awesome. any further input from release engineering or release engineering related topics?
I just wanted to add really quickly, Marco and I did a pair session on OBS, and he brought me up to speed on some of the gaps there. So I'm going to look at OBS as well and try to take some of the workload off of Marco if possible.
Yep, yeah, sure. Thank you for that. We will keep it psych about what's the plan. I plan to come up with something, at least some work in progress PR for CAP, and then we can probably iterate based on that to see what we can add and what we can remove and stuff like that. But yeah, it has been a bit busy last week, so that didn't went as planned, but I hope it should get better as of this next week.
And unrelated to this topic, but concerning the cherry pickings, I have them on my agenda. Except for November, I have always done them. So don't worry. And I always try to do them at towards the last week, because last minute things always come up. So it is better for me. But if someone wants to help, please let me know. I know I don't remember right now who said this a long time ago, but that if there was a spreadsheet to track the cherry picks, it would be easier for them. I'm happy to start a spreadsheet if that works for you and you want to help. But other than that, just ping me. Otherwise, I won't do it. But if you want it, I'll do it. That's it.
Cool, thank you for this update. So then I guess we can jump over to the release team. Xander, do you have an update on the release team?
Yeah, so the call for enhancements went out yesterday, and we have 9 so far. Looks like SIG did their drop on the board. And then the shadow selection is currently ongoing. We are planning on having that done by the end of this week. James, sorry, I gave your update. That was yours. It had your name on it, and I just jumped in.
It's all right. I mean, that's the gist of it. I was gonna say to give a little bit more detail on that. The shadow survey closed last week, Tuesday 3rd. The enhancement subteam has finished their selection and has started reaching out. Everyone else has, so the other 5 subteams has almost finished selection. So thank you to all the rollies for doing that. I'm looking to consider everyone together before, like as a team as a whole, before we kind of like move forward and do more reaching out. The deadline we gave for shadow notification is next Tuesday, the 17th, I believe. So we're on track for that. So yes, by the end of the week should be fine. We did have an interesting issue where so we distribute the lists of shadows using markdown files now. We used to just give direct access to the spreadsheet, which is filled off a Google form. I missed 2 of those files, completely my fault, but that caused some delay. Interestingly, from talking to Nabaroon, this happened last cycle as well, something very similar. So I think there needs to be some verbiage in the EA handbook to help advise on not having that happen and why it happens. It's a Slack issue, basically. So yeah, so look at that. And then once shadows are selected, I'll work on generating and showing non-identifiable statistics from the people that said they were comfortable being included in statistics, which was a question on the survey. Not quite sure how we're going to distribute that. Maybe a KDev email after the shadow selection is done. Not sure. Maybe just something we do internally in a meeting here. We'll figure it out. But yeah.
For to announce selection?
Sent to where, sorry?
No, to announce selection.
What? Just include the statistics then?
The question about the email.
Yeah, about how we distribute statistics. Yeah.
Yeah, why not for KDev? Just for funsies. Just to be super transparent. I say that because people kind of always have this question about what we're doing and how we're doing it, and
Sure.
When surveys are opening, closing, up, down, left, right, yada yada. I would just send it. I would just blast it wide, honestly.
Cool. All right, in which case, yeah, I'll speak to Leo, who wrote the tool that generates the stats, and make sure we generated them properly, and then yeah, get that probably done after we're done with actual selection and onboarding and stuff. So we'll see. Cool. That's it for me.
Cool. Thank you for this update. Anything else we have regarding the release team? All right, then we can jump over directly to the open discussions. Marco, do you want to kick it off?
Yes, I am in advance sorry for the number of topics, but we had quite a few happenings since the last meeting. And the first one, I wanted to a little bit talk about policy for Go updates on release branches. So I mentioned it in the update earlier, but just to repeat for folks who just joined, we had two PRs that updated Go for release branches for 1.23 and 1.24 to Go 1.19, because other Go releases are not supported. Actually, 1.18 is supported, but it's not going to be supported once 1.20 is out. And we decided to, to update to 1.19. And thanks to Jordan Leggett, to Deems and Carlos for helping with this, and everyone else involved. We actually merged those PRs and got it updated. Test grid is green, everything went fine. It was well tested with CI and with all the tests that we have, and we didn't notice any problem. But what I realized afterwards is that this is a little bit against the policy, because so far we didn't, let's say, upgraded release branches to a new minor version since now when this happened. And this worries a little bit. I'm worried a little bit because what effect this might have to the community and to users of Go libraries, because now you might end up needing to update to Go.19 if you are using 1.23 and 1.24. And this is something that is a little bit new. I don't know if we provide any backwards compatibility regarding Go version, but I wanted to at least announce it and to send a note to KDev to say, okay, we updated to Go 1.19. Please make sure if you're using our Kubernetes as dependency, make sure that you will need to update to Go 1.19 as well. But yeah, besides that, once we said the announcement, I don't see a big problem with that, but I just wanted to raise awareness with it because it happens over the holiday seasons, actually 2 or 3 days before the Christmas. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone is on the same page when it comes to this one.
So I think, I saw some of those things flying around, and one, I think let's discuss the reasoning, because yes, we haven't done that. And I was under the impression that we had gotten to the point where we were in a reasonable skew for the release branches. So I'm not sure if there was an extension or something that made this impossible to maintain for kind of the lagging branches. With regards to policy changes, I think I'm of the mind that we should announce policy changes before they start happening. And there should be some discussion of how, when, if the policy is changing before it actually does happen. So I think, thank you for the heroics for everyone who did this running into the holiday season. I think let's discuss why. I think would be a good next step.
Yeah, so the biggest reason is with that was that Go is, for example, for 1.23, I think it was using Go 1.17 and it was end of life. And Go and Kubernetes 1.24 is using 1.18, which is going to be end of life in February. But it was supposed to be supported, I don't know, until mid this year. So we would have a problem that we wouldn't be able to deliver security updates and stuff like that. And it was the biggest driver behind this change, as far as I know. So that we can ensure that Kubernetes and release branches are built with Go versions that are not vulnerable to some of the security stuff that is being announced and that has been announced recently as well.
Yeah, I think I still have mixed feelings on this. And it's part of, part of it is that having a Go version be out of support is actually a forcing function for people to upgrade versions of Kubernetes, right? We cannot infinitely support support release branches. So was this like just timing with our lagging branch and Go 117 support?
Yeah, I think it wasn't a big problem for 1.23 actually, because it is maintenance mode that's going end of life soon. So maybe we could have skipped that one, but for
Yeah, because in the past we've
1.23,
just not done it. Yeah.
yeah. But at this point, we merged those PRs. This is what I'm not sure. Like, should we just accept it as it is? Should we eventually consider reverting it? I don't know. For 124, I am just looking at the calendar and it is going in maintenance mode end of May, as far as I see here. So we would have at least, how much is it? 3 or 4 months between it reaches end of between it reaches maintenance mode and Go 1.18 end of life. So there's that too. This one is a bit more affected as of right now.
So 3 months before it, 3 months in which 118 Go 118 was on end of life, or 3 months until it is end of life?
It is Go end of life is 3 months before we reach maintenance mode.
Gotcha. So I think, so in that case, I think it would have made sense potentially for 124, but for 123, I would have skipped. But this is not something I think we should consider reverts for. Other release managers want to comment?
Yeah, I personally fixed this. We did this already. Like, we shouldn't go back, because I don't know if it is going to have some negative effects, like with publishing bot, with stuff like that. It is maybe more risky to just revert as of right now. But I think we should announce this, and we should probably bring this up, maybe even in form of some cap or something like that, so that we have a formal documented way that we decided to do this.
We should just update our policy. We have some docs related to Go versions at this point. I think, yeah, I would like to hear from other release managers before I continue yapping. Sasha, Adolfo, Veronica, release managers, check in, please.
Sorry, I was struggling with the audio mixer until now, and I missed all of the discussion. Sorry.
TLDR, we did something we don't normally do, which is upgrade Go versions for already released branches. How do we feel about that?
I personally always think that whenever we have to do that, we need to go back and review the policy, but I need to understand a little bit more.
I think that in general, sorry, we have been doing things that go slightly against our, not against, but breaking the boundaries of our policies, which I think it's normal. And if different things happen, like several things happen, it's maybe worth to revisit those policies. Like, for example, this one, or how we treated 122, and so on, right? So because the policies are clearly not serving for edge cases. That is my opinion.
And yeah, I
Because
agree. I think
it's
sorry.
important. Sorry. I know why.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
go for it. Yeah.
The thoughts came to my head. Now I know why. Because that way, if we have clear policies, I'm not saying that we should amend them or not, but like just having clarity on what we have. We are very distributed and we are very offline and async. So sometimes someone needs to make a decision when the rest of us are not around, right? Or whatever. So having clear guidelines on how to make decisions is easier for everyone to not depend on a specific person to make a final call. So that is my rationale in general, not just specifically about the Go policies. Had I been in that situation, I would have known what to do because our policy stated one thing, but it was also necessary. So that is my point of view.
Yeah, so I mean, we change we change things all the time. And I think that, to kind of wrap our arms around some of those edge cases, I think, we should block, if anything, we should block on discussion in absence of having a policy in place or something that dictates exactly what happens in some edge case. If we felt that and for future, again, this is I'm not trying to indict anyone who worked on this. Thank you for working on it and pushing the ball forward. But in future, we should make sure that we I would sooner block for discussion because things are always harder to revert than they are to just do. And I think we've gotten the process down to it is not magic and it is not easy. But once it's we've gotten it roughly to the point of there are some search and replaces that you can do that will roughly get some of this done, and then outside of the promotions and actually using the promoted images, like it's done. It's not as difficult as it was in the past. To quickly answer Arnaud, to quickly answer your question about in the chat. So no RC Golang for release branches, absolutely not. No RCs on no RCs for Golang on our release branches, and that's part of the reason that we push forward on trying to. So I believe Carlos already started working on the 120 RC1 updates for the development branch, and we can already see we've got our 120 RC2 out as of the last few days. So yeah, so the goal is to never have an RC on a release branch. In fact, not having a GA version of Go on a release is release blocking. And if we do not have something that states that, we should.
So probably this was already addressed, but usually the way when the Go versions went out of support, more or less matched the time that our branches went out of support, right? So I was wondering, since I'm not familiar with what happened over the break, so I'm not sure what's the rationale to do the bump. Like there was a pretty nasty CVE or something. I'm not aware of that.
In general, there were some CVEs over the past few months that we included in Go updates and in library updates as well, like XNet library, which we were not be able to update on 123 because it was using 170. But yeah, I mean, I have to agree with Stephen and Veronica about this because we should definitely have blocked on it. I jumped a little bit too quick on the chain because folks wanted to get it merged before holidays to get the CI signal before break to make sure that everything is working and that we don't do it too soon before the patch releases. But yeah, maybe I should have just blocked on it and waited for everyone to get back. This is definitely something that I messed up, but yeah, I think that we should definitely update the policy to decide if we want to continue going with this further or then to stop doing this in the future. Like one thing that I would just add, if that's okay, one of the reasons why we didn't do that before was that Go was introducing some breaking changes, to call them like that, in the language itself, and that didn't make it possible to update Go. But since recently, like 4.19, 4.18, and quite in 4.20, they reduced that number of changes and made it possible to disable some of those changes, like with those Go debug environment variables and stuff like that, which were implemented on release branches to make sure that we have the same behavior as before, so that we don't change anything regarding that. But yeah,
So-
it's still.
So
Yeah,
Marco, you didn't mess up. What I would ask as a follow-up action is that you kind of go into the backlog of our world and discover why the request existed in the first place and why we needed to push it heading into holidays. Let's kind of rally around the why of it and discuss if we need to change policy based on that. For making changes on the release branches, yes, I agree that it is easier than it used to be, but as one of the people who's usually working on the beta or RC rolls into the development branch, there's a bunch of stuff that breaks. Linters are also one of them, right? So if we're bumping, if we're bumping major Go versions on release branches, we also have to consider that and the amount of work that it's going to take to bring in changes that we may not be calculating, especially if it is related to feature work. So it is generally something that we absolutely do not want to do unless there is a really, really good reason. So like a good reason for me would be like a massive security vulnerability that's discovered, just a super mega regression. I don't know where on the scale of regression super mega goes, but like just a crushing regression, which happened, I think, 2-3 releases ago, where it was, I think it was more advisable to, we were kind of touch and go based on the Go version and the release because of impact to stability, to scalability. I think in particular for one of the Go versions, I can't remember which release this is, but
was it 124 with the hilarious revision we had there?
So 124, it could have been. It's at least a year ago. But stuff like that, stuff that is going to materially impact people's operation of Kubernetes, whether it be through security, scalability, etc. But yes, we should document this stuff. But it is I think we are, because of where we're seated in just we are the group that releases Kubernetes ultimately. We're the ones who packages it. We tend to be in this this role in service to a lot of other groups, right? And that often causes us to be a little bit more lax on our policies in service of those groups, right? So what I would ask is, when you get a request, regardless of who it's coming from, question whether or not that is with or against our policy, and why we would actually want to do it before executing.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to add is that we also need to consider that by bumping the minor version, we could fundamentally be altering the way Kubernetes behaves. There are sometimes like things like performance improvements, which on massive scale, they tend to have an impact. And then if you consider the overlap of when our branches go out of support and the Go versions go out of support, maybe we should always try to be conservative on those changes, because whatever benefits we can have by bumping those versions, it's going to be they're going to be short-lived. So I feel okay, like hearing a little bit more of the arguments, probably maybe the policy is right and not doing it, and trying to avoid changing it. Of course, like Steven said, if there's something like really, really critical, well, we need to go there. But there are some things that we can possibly anticipate. Like, I mean, yeah, it may fundamentally, it will not break the code base and compile, but I'm not sure if it's really our job to anticipate, like in a really quick snap decision, if just popping the version is gonna not do anything to the other branches. So my feeling is we should really err on the conservative side and keep the policy of not pumping those versions.
I would just like to answer one concern that has been raised now by Adolfo and Joseph in chat. It is that that PR that updated Go actually made sure that there are no unexpected changes. Like you said, there are some performance improvements that are costing more resources, but those changes are disabled by using those, I don't know, kind of environment variables and stuff like that. So those are not going to affect users. Like even when building with new Go, like 1.18, those release branches are not going to receive those performance improvements that are actually in Go 1.19. The behavior will be the same, and it is not supposed to affect anything when it comes to that.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great point to know.
All right, thank you. Anything else regarding this topic? So
I would like,
go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to recap it. So I think that we should probably go as it is for now. We should prepare an announcement. We should clarify in details like what happened, and that it is not supposed to have any negative impacts on users, since we paid some attention to that. And based on that, I will also try to go ahead and collect the feedback on that, to talk about folks who were achieving this, and to try to come up with some PR on issue to that we document this policy change, and that we continue discussion there in terms of, do we want to continue doing this in the future or not?
Yeah, and I would, so going back to the kind of going through the backlog to understand why the changes happen. The reason I stress that is the second we send, and also being metered with whatever we send out as an announcement. The second we send the announcement, second we lock in yet another policy, especially if it is more lax, we start beholding ourselves to that. So expect requests for for updates on previous branches as a result of that, or expect people to point to our policy as a result of that. Let's be sure that anything that we send out, we're guarding against that. Because while we are assessing that there may be minimal performance impacts across release branches, there could be catastrophic ones, right? So there are unknown unknowns, and we should be very careful with relaxing any policy regarding release branches.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. Then it will be nice to clarify that we did this time, but for now we are still discussing it, if this is going to be the policy. I think this should state in the announcement, and that point to some issue where we are going to keep discussing this so that folks can stay updated.
Sounds
And
great.
also,
Sounds good.
yeah,
Yeah. Once you have a draft, send it over to us.
yeah.
Does this bring us to the next topic for the policy for announcing changes on K-announce?
Yeah. Now that we discussed this in depth with Go stuff and so on, I was wondering, do we have a policy for sending stuff to K-announce? I was wondering concretely in this case, for example, is it worth to also send it to K-announce because it is affecting Kubernetes users general, like to make sure, or do we want to send to K-dev? Do we in general have some idea when we are sending stuff to announce, or is it strictly only release announcements and CVE announcements? And if you don't have such a policy, do we eventually want to come up with some?
That's a great question. I tend to, in announcements, I tend to bias towards a larger swath of people, are going where people are generally going to be. An announcement about release policy changes. If it's directly related to a release, like this is, and as I dredge up history, in instances where a Nago has done something terrible and we have had to like manually perform surgery, which actually happened recently with the Carl stuff, but have like had to like scrap a release branch, manually tag something, rerun things, and like throw out an entire release. Like that announcement is going out to K-announce to let people know that that like don't use this tag at all. As well as like a link to here's why it happened, and then here's what we're doing to fix it. I try to lean towards over communication in those instances. In general, what we've been doing, and I would also include like K-release on this, right? Because depending on email filters, people are not looking in certain places. I think the answer is we don't have an answer. And this is another like good, like, let's do a policy thing. I think, a baseline would be, if it's something that is local to SIG release, then definitely SIG release. If it's something that you're seeding feedback from SIG release leads or release managers, the SIG release leads or release managers groups as appropriate. And if it's something that is going to affect the community, then definitely K-dev. If it's something that's happening within the context of a release, K-announce as well, is my general vibe, but we should document.
Yeah, then it might be a good idea to create an issue about that and to document it some way and then to find a place where we could put this, and maybe this is going to be useful.
Yeah, maybe also think of contributor experience on that topic, because I'm not sure what the initial thought on K-announce was, right?
That's a good idea as well.
All right, we have 4 minutes left. Marco, do you want to cover the next topic as well?
Yeah, I would just, I think the register changes is maybe more important, but about this PR, please just take a look. It is a super simple one. It is about dropping the Kubernetes source code from big publishers and GitHub releases. So just to make sure that we planned and announced dropping this in January. January is here. So I want to make sure that removing hold on it is okay. So yeah, just take a look at that and provide your feedback. And yeah, the next topic will be the register changes thing. We have been asked about it, and Ben pointed out in SIG as infra that we are again spending a lot of money on GCP. So yeah, there had been some discussion in this group that we should stop publishing tags and stuff like that, but we never really came with anything concretely. So I wanted to make sure that we come up with some communication and see if anyone can help with that. So yeah, just raising awareness for that one.
Thank you, Marco.
I see Arnaud has raised hand, so
Hi, Happy New Year. Just to basically complete Marco say, so the main idea is to ensure for 127 we stop push container image to case.jci.io. So I saw the Slack conversation. There are like some technical detail we need to figure out, but ideally we should make a communication to the SIGs and the overall community that basically once 127 is out, we only publish to registry.case.io. Oh, and because the patch release in December changed the registry endpoint, we can extend that to also other release branches. So basically that's the idea. We need to figure out this milestone. And that's why Mohammed said we should basically make a really quick and early announcements to basically say, oh, if you consume a sub project for the Kubernetes project, we should use the new registry endpoint.
One thing to note, Darna, is, I mean, we've been trying to be quick and practical in all of these subjects, but I feel they should go into a cap. I mean, we can just have it as a formality, but we need to capture that in there.
I don't mind doing that, so I can write a cap saying
Yeah.
that's the intent for 127, and then work through that process. I haven't written one before, so it'd be nice to write one.
Yeah, exactly. Just to, I mean, we should keep the discussions flowing and quickly doing the decisions and implementation, but be sure to capture that in there.
Okay, I'll go and write one up today, and then we can pick it up from there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Arno, see your hand still up. Is that for the previous or?
Oh, no, sorry, forgot to lower my hands.
And Mohammed, congrats on being the only person I've ever heard say, like, I'm excited to write a cap.
Well, I don't do feature development, right? So most of my work is in structural engineering. So it's going to be fun to write something I haven't done before.
Nice.
Everyone loves caps.
All right, and with those final words, we are out of time. Enjoy the rest of your week, and let's move over to the next topics till next week. Thanks, y'all. See ya.
Happy New Year.
Later, y'all.
bye-bye.